like to know your point of view.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Evening TV and the Noah Radio Show. Today, with everything that's been going on, I thought a really necessary thing to talk about would be how one goes about choosing an online therapist or an online coach or a counselor. So I wanted to talk a little bit about what the options are and who's all out there and that kind of thing. There's a wide variety of offerings. Really quick what the differences are between them. First with therapists. And I'm kind of in a unique position to talk about kind of some of this stuff because I was a licensed counselor. So I have licensed counselors always have a 4-year degree, undergraduate degree, and then they have postgraduate studies. Counselors, the licensed counselor that I was, required a certification and exam, and also put after your 4-year degree. After that, there is also other more specific certifications, like there is something called a licensed marriage and family therapist, LMFT, or a licensed clinical social worker. Those require master's degrees. So those require your 4-year degree undergrad. They require a 2-year master's degree, and you emphasize what you're specializing in. The next level up is doctors. So you have clinical psychologists, and there are basically two types of that. There's PhDs and PsyDs, and PhDs tend to be more research-based, and PsyDs are more clinical-based. The program, it was that's more of a clinical working with people, more so oftentimes than the PhDs. But PhDs do that too. The ones that really don't do a lot of working with people are psychiatrists, and those are actually MDs. But they are also the only ones that can prescribe medication. So the PhDs and the PsyDs have a 4-year degree undergrad, then they have 4-year degrees, 4-year graduate school, doctorate program, and then they they have their clinical hours, which is about it's 3,000 clinical hours for all of these. And then they have they sit down for an exam. The the MD program is, instead of just the graduate school, it's actually medical school. Plus, they have to sit and have to do all their regular medical stuff, the things that doctors have to go through. And they used to do, once upon a time, you would have a psychiatrist who would be your therapist. And but the way that they've cut backs with how they get paid, so like that, they can no longer really afford to do that. And so what you end up having a psychiatrist for is something called med checks, where you just go to see them for about 15, maybe up to 30 minutes, where they just check your medications and things like that. It was really great for me and for people that ever had come to see me back when I was doing therapy and stuff, was that I worked really closely with both a psychiatrist and a psychologist. If you came to see me, you kind of got the benefit of all of our expertise, so that was really great. And anyway, on the YouTube community, there are some people that actually fit all those criteria that I just mentioned. The vast majority, though, are coaches, and some are none of the above. Coaches, by and large, are going to be more, they're going to emphasize more having a person who's already really functional. They have higher level people coming to see them. If you're really not doing well, you're severely depressed, you're harming yourself, you need medication to function, things like that, you need more than a coach. In that case, you really need more than a coach. You need a therapist. Coaches from square one they have the responsibility for weeding out their clientele and making sure that they are referring people out who are not already functioning well. And functioning well can mean, it means you're able to take care of yourself, you're able to go to work, you're able to do your thing. It's just you're having a hard time, that's fine. If you're just trying to get past a hurdle or reach a goal, that's what coaches are for. Coaches are not for a person who's clinically depressed, a person who's got a serious mental health issue or a serious diagnosis, serious addiction, anything like that. Those need more intensive treatment. So, and all of the above should be able to tell you their credentials, should be able to talk to you about their practice, should be able to clearly spell out what their fees are. They should not require any kind of long-term commitment from you, like to get involved with them, you have to sign up for 6 months of something or anything like that. The most important thing in all of the above is that you get someone that you can trust, someone that you really have a good working relationship with. You can tell them, this isn't working for me, or I think you're off track, or if they start heading down in a direction that you don't agree with, you can tell them, no, that doesn't sound right for me. No, I think you're kind of on the wrong track. And they can take that. They can hear you, and they can probe further. They can ask more questions. They can redirect and not take it personally. Certainly not demean you or attack you or not change. Those are real red flags. If you're working with someone who cannot take any feedback, who has to be right, who has to be, just insist that you're wrong, insist that they're all knowing, that kind of thing. That is a real problem. So, if you can't give feedback to whoever you're working with, you need to find someone else, because that's really not going to work. So your comfort level and your ability to trust this person, and that you feel that they have a real expertise, and that you feel that they genuinely care and understand you. These are really important. So their style. So let me back up again. I'm not one who really believes that licensure and credentials are the be all and end all of what makes a good therapist. I've had really good and really bad experiences all across the board. Online, what you definitely have to be careful of is you have to be careful of someone who started out just wanting to talk about their issue that they went through, and then somehow, some way, next thing you know, they're charging for coaching services. That is something to really be wary of, because there's a lot of harm that can come from that, and you might end up with somebody who's not really well balanced, giving you advice that they have no right giving. And this is not to say that you might really luck out and get somebody. I'm actually not even saying that someone has to even have coaching credentials, but it is a buyer beware situation. And the credentials are not going to safeguard you. There are, people are having trouble with PhDs, and they're having problems with people who are not certified at all online. It's across the board. Look at them holistically. Look at the whole situation, and most importantly, look at how you relate to them. Do you really relate to them? And I'm going to do another episode. I have another episode coming up on projection, because this is something, projection and transference, because this really is important, and it's playing a big role, I think, in how people are choosing the people that they're listening to on YouTube. And I know that I personally learned some big lessons. I learned some big lessons with how I was projecting my own qualities onto other people that run channels. I basically, that everyone was going to be the same as me in terms of their reasons for being here, and their ways that they felt about it, and their motivations and all that stuff. I didn't realize that I had made these assumptions. I didn't realize that I projected that until it wasn't so. Until my expectations that I didn't even know I had weren't met. I didn't know I had them. And so what happens to us is we're vulnerable when we come into relationships with online coaches, and we have possibly been really isolated, and really been through a ton of abuse, and just had maybe who knows how long, years maybe, of dysfunction and emotional abuse. We come up to someone who's just nice to us, who just seems a little bit nice to us, who just seems to maybe know more about life than we do, which right then we don't feel like we know anything about life. We feel like we got all the questions, all the answers wrong. We are really vulnerable. And so it's really important when you're in that vulnerable state to not get super invested in any one person, that you kind of feel it out, watch a lot of different people, maybe do a short session. And the other thing is, I think that everyone should be offering a free, nobody has to listen to me, nobody has to do this, but I believe that everyone should be offering something for free. You should have even if it's just a 15-minute consultation that you can get for free. I don't think that anyone should be making you pay anything right off the bat, because you need to know that you can talk to someone. And I can honestly say that in my my recent experience, that if I had even just that, I knew right away that even just that one chance, 15 minutes would have told me a lot that I didn't know before. You can learn a lot in 15 minutes, 15 to 30 minutes, even better if they offer 30 minutes. But because the first impression is important, and especially with a therapist. And I would say that if a person is, because what I'm realizing is that some of these channels actually have a history of problems, And there are numerous people that have come to them for services or had interactions with them that have gone sideways or gone wrong. And so that's, there's enough choices, there are enough options out there that you shouldn't have to get involved with someone that's got a sketchy history or has anything that's off-putting to you at all. If someone has anything that's off-putting to you, just their way that they talk, their philosophies, their beliefs, anything, there's enough choices that you don't have to pick someone who isn't lining up all the way across. And if it doesn't work out, if it starts out, maybe it's good for a session or two, and then it starts going down a direction you don't like, you can change. Of course, you have to be discerning about this too, because you don't want to change just because they're starting to get into a sensitive area where they're starting to butt up against your problem. Because if you do that, if you just keep switching every time you start getting at the meat of your problems, then you'll never get better. So I want to make sure that's not the reason you're changing. But if really the reason you're changing is because the person just isn't right for you, then that's fine. Sometimes you're not going to know right off the bat. Sometimes, first thing you want to do is watch a lot of videos. Watch a lot of videos and watch watch a lot of different people's videos, and see who really kind of specializes in the exact areas that you need to talk about. Maybe has a history that's a little bit more like yours, maybe, and then then just start maybe testing them out with do a free consultations if they offer them, and if they don't offer them, do one paid session. Don't get involved in any long-term contracts. Don't pay a lot of money for big long sessions or anything like that. Just one little thing. And then feel free to give feedback to your therapist or your counselor or your coach, person who's just basically a friend with some expertise, which is really what some of these channels really are. Really a lot of these channels really are just a friend with some expertise. And really, when I came on, that's all I said that I was, really, because I had stopped doing counseling because after my son died, I didn't think it was fair to have somebody come to a counselor who is grieving, and so I didn't put myself out there as anything but just a person who'd had these experiences. And so that's what it was. And I didn't have any breakdown of prices and counseling sessions and things like that I was selling. So it put me a little bit in a different place. But if a person is accepting money, you need to be sure who they are. And for sure, if there is a person who is alleged to be actually harming people, you need to check that out. You really need to check that out, because like I said, there are so many options. Why risk it? Why risk something like that? You can find the right person. The right person to help you is, you can't know who they are by the certification that they have. You can't know that, but it can help you maybe weed it down a little bit. Some people believe that everyone should have a license in their state, either as some kind of therapist or coach, or at least as a coach, but if not that, and then a therapist. I would like to say that I'm not going to agree with that, because I don't think that does that much to protect you. I don't think that does that much to weed it out, because whereas I know people that seem to be problematic that I wouldn't send somebody to, that don't have any kind of certification, and then others that do. And so that wouldn't really help. I think the best thing you can go with is their style. If you feel that they are trustworthy, you feel understood, you feel they can listen, they're good listeners, and you can give them feedback, and so you have a good relationship with them. That really is the very, very most important thing. All right, you guys, thanks so much for being here. If you like this video, please hit the subscribe button, give me a like, a thumbs up, and hit the notification bell. All right, talk to you later. Bye-bye.